So ever since the start of Season 2, Apex has had nerfs, buffs, and reworks of certain characters that have actually changed the meta, not including an introduction of a brand new character, Wattson. Now with all these new changes and this new character, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking where the characters line up in the case of a ranked tier list. So today, that is what I'm going to be discussing. Now, of course, take this with a grain of salt because this is my personal tier list on what I think are the best characters in Apex Legends. So of course, naturally, a lot of you may not agree with my list, and if you do not agree with my list, I want you to leave a comment down below and tell me where you think I went wrong. And if you think that maybe somebody deserves a lower spot or a higher spot on the tier list, I want you to let me know and let me know why. That way I can, of course, understand you guys and just try to get to know where you guys are coming from. Because of course, at the end of the day, we all have different opinions and we all play different characters in a different way. So of course, things are going to be changing for each person. Now, without further ado, guys, this is the Cure 25, and we're going to be going over the Season 2 tier list for Apex Legends. Now, this list is going to work the same as my first tier list, and if you haven't seen that already, I'm going to leave that in the description below. That way you can match and compare how last season was. But of course, it's going to start off from the worst character to the best character. Now, this doesn't mean that the worst character is actually bad. I just mean that he's not as good as the other legends. So if your favorite character comes up early on the list, that does not mean he's bad. They're just better legends in the game, pretty much. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say with that. So starting off at number 10, we have, and this hurts my soul to say, Bloodhound. Now, if a lot of you have seen my Bloodhound guide, then a lot of you may know that I adore this character. I think the character design for Bloodhound is just amazing. He's a super cool hunter with a super cool design. He has a lot of nice skins, but sadly, his abilities just don't give him enough in this meta. His tracking passive is pretty good at times, but of course it doesn't always lead you to certain places because the movement is so fast in Apex Legends that people will be out of your sight before you even know it. So you have to be really fast on the tracking to make it effective. And for his tactical ability, it's pretty good now. They actually buffed it. You can see people through walls for a short amount of time, but the cooldown is extremely long. So you'll probably only be able to use it once, maybe twice, depending on how long that fight actually takes. Because in Apex Legends, the game is so fast that most fights don't take too long unless you're at a far distance. And if that is the case, then the tactical ability will be useless. Now, his ult is somewhat of a redeeming factor for Bloodhound. He's not completely useless, of course. He's actually a pretty good character, actually, but he's just the worst out of all of them, in my opinion. Now, his ult is pretty good. You do gain a lot of speed, and it's a good way to get out of certain situations. But the sad thing is that your FOV actually zooms out, so it messes with your sensitivity. And for a lot of hardcore players, this is really bad because you get used to a certain sensitivity when you play. And since that is the case, just a little slight movement in your sense can actually hurt you a lot. You'll be missing shots that you shouldn't be missing just by a little bit. And since the FOV does increase, this means that a lot of lower NPCs actually do struggle with the frame rate. This can actually drop the frame rate a significant amount, especially for those PCs that aren't too well up to date. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that Bloodhound's bad. He's actually pretty good. But of course, he has some movement troubles, and people pretty much just run circles around him. Other legends, of course. He doesn't have any movement buffs. His abilities are kind of lackluster. So I think that he's actually the worst legend in the game. Now moving on to number 9, we have Mirage. Now the recent buff in Mirage's ult, where he can turn completely invisible and come out whenever he wants, is a huge improvement to the character. This ult, when used correctly, can create some high IQ flanks that people won't see coming. And the possibilities with this character is now pretty much a lot. There's a lot of shit you can do if you learn how to use this character correctly. Now with that being said, his tactical ability is actually really useful and can actually catch a lot of people off guard. And you'll be surprised how many people actually fall for this. Even if they know that you're a Mirage, like it's one of your clones, they'll still shoot at it just in case. And there's actually a lot of mind games. If you throw out a few Mirages, you can actually run out yourself pretending to be a Mirage. Maybe even running in a straight line, and you'll be surprised how many people fall for this. It's insane. Now, I haven't been killed by somebody that's pretended to be a Mirage, but I've actually had a Mirage run at me, and me thinking he was a clone, I just ran past him, and he turned around and started shooting me. Now, luckily, his aim was pretty bad, so I managed to get away with it, and I did have my team to back me up, but that was close. You know, I had to, like, react fast, and the fact that he got behind me without me doing a thing about it just goes to show you how much of a trickster character this can be. And to be honest, I had to play Mirage for a few challenges like a few days ago, and I really enjoyed it. I'm not gonna lie, I had a lot of fun playing them. So if you did want to play Mirage and you got kind of, you know, like you stopped playing him because you thought he was bad, now might be the time to pick him up. Because sadly, Mirage does not get a lot of love, and his meta is not evolved too much because not a lot of people play him. So you could be a pioneer in finding out all these new tricks that Mirage can actually do. Now moving on to number 8, we have Gibraltar. Now Gibraltar, on paper, is an extremely good character. He has a really good offensive ult, and he has a really good defensive tactical. This means that he can actually come in handy on both sides of the field, no matter if you're playing offense or defense. And he also did get a buff, which makes him 15% more damage resistant than the other characters, which is extremely good. But like every other problem with Gibraltar, he's huge. He will take every single shot. And it's crazy to me how much damage he takes. Even with that 50%, I feel like you can't outrun certain bullets. People with R301s and R99s will just melt you. And it's insane because they feel like you can't get away no matter how good your movement is. I feel like this small quirk is the only thing that's keeping Gibraltar back from being a top tier character. And I don't know how Respawn could get around this. You know, I think they want certain characters to be big. Maybe he would be OP if he was skinny. But I think they should lower his size. Maybe they should make, like, story-wise, maybe he took off his armor or something and he's just a little bit skinnier. And I think that would make him a way better character. Now, starting off at number 7, we have Bangalore. Now, Bangalore is a very all-around legend. She can do pretty much anything. She can rush, she can defend, but that's kind of the problem with her. She doesn't stick out compared to any other legend. But Bangalore, however, is one of the best legends to learn when you're new to Apex Legends because she's actually really simple. Now, even though her smoke bomb is really good, in the wrong hands, it could actually hurt you, but it has a really high skill ceiling is what I'm trying to say. So if you do want to put in the time with Bangalore, you can actually learn to use these smokes effectively and become a really good Bangalore. But in the long run, if you do get better at the game, then newer players that get better tend to gravitate towards other characters like Wraith, for example. So all in all, she is a really strong character, but she doesn't offer anything different or anything unique compared to other games you've probably played. And at the number 6 spot, we have Wraith. And I know what a lot of you are going to say, how the hell is Wraith at number 6? She should be top 3. And yes, she is used by a lot of great players, which make her seem like she's actually better than she really is. But honestly, the best thing about Wraith is that she has a small hitbox and she has a get out of jail free card with her tactical ability. Now that being said, she does take 5% more damage with the recent nerf she got. And also, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that her get out of jail free card, where she can turn invisible and go into the void and then come out somewhere else, is not as strong as it was when the game first came out. A lot of the time when a Wraith does this to me, I can just track her down. I follow the little line that she leaves and I can just kill her. Like, I kill her almost every time. It's like a 90% time that I'll kill her whenever she tries to race away from me. And sadly, that's because a lot of people know how to play the game now and they're not new. And it's actually not a hard tactical ability to follow. You know, a lot of Wraiths use it to get like away from damage and stuff like that, but it's just not enough anymore. And as players advance, the average skill level will higher or will be raised, and they're not going to fall for these type of things anymore. And I feel like she's not as strong as she used to be because of this reason. Also, adding to that, her portal ability is also not too strong. It's just mainly for convenience. You'll save your teammates some time. Now, of course, there are scenarios where, of course, it's just going to come in handy, like if you're in the ring and stuff like that. But usually good players don't find themselves in that scenario too often. So, I mean, it's only going to be a very situational ult whenever it is going to be in super handy like that. Now, at number 5, and one of my personal favorite legends in this game is Caustic. Now, I used to think that Caustic was bad. I used to think he was one of the worst legends in the game, but man, could I have not be proven more wrong. You see, the thing about Caustic is that he takes a lot of IQ to play. He's not an easy character. He does not have a get out of jail free card, and he's huge. So you have to know exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, or else you're going to die. But if you do know what decisions to make, then you're going to be extremely, extremely effective. Now, Caustic is, of course, one of those characters that I put under the wildcard division because his environment will pretty much determine how good of a legend he's going to be. If you're in close quarters, of course, then he's going to shit on people with his traps or his ult. He can pretty much deny an entire passageway if it is a closed choke point, of course. But his traps are what make him extremely good if you know how to use them correctly. You know, there are times where you can throw traps at an enemy and shoot at them so they go off, and you can pretty much corral the enemy into a certain area where your team is waiting, and it's just crazy. Like, even in open areas, you can use these as cover or just as ways to, like, wrangle the enemies to a certain direction. That way you all can shit on them. Like, it's crazy. It's super good. And I'm even going to show some gameplay in the background of something I got recently. And I'm just amazed. The last few months that I've been playing Caustic, he's become one of the funnest legends in the game. And if you haven't picked him up already, you should, because it's a great way to improve at the game, because he's such a like high IQ character that you're bound to learn a few things about playing. So I think a few buffs to Caustic, and he could actually become top three, top four, like easy. Easy, easy, easy. There's no doubt in my mind that he's a great fucking character. And I'm sure a lot of you have run into Caustic players that actually main Caustic and have gotten all his little quirks down. And they're really good characters. Like, they're really good players. And you should really take in the time to learn this character if you haven't already. Now, coming in at number 4, we have my personal favorite character, Octane. Now, I can use Octane every single game because I just can't get enough of the speed he gets. And his ult is also really good at getting your team on top of the height advantage. Now, to be completely honest, Octane is a little bit of a selfish character. Now, he does get his ult very often, which can actually help you in a fight, but for the most part, your passive is very selfish and your tactical is very selfish. So, if you are trying to make a team comp with your squad, then you might want to pick another character that's going to fit that kind of team comp that you're going for. Now, I think Octane, as an individual character, is one of the best. I love him. I love that character to death. And there's no other character I'd rather be than Octane, to be honest. Because running through, open fields with that speed and just being able to get behind enemies it's an insane feeling. And a lot of people aren't ready for good Octanes because they can be anywhere. They can go for major flanks, or they can get away if you're not looking. So if you don't play Octane, you might want to, give it a try, because you just might become addicted to how fast and how much speed this character can get. Now, at third place, we have Wattson. Now, Wattson is extremely, extremely good, especially with the rank that came in this season. With the new ranked games, the game plays off extremely slow compared to casual games. And if you do play ranked, I'm sure you know this already, that once it gets to the last 2 or 3 circles, there's always about 6 or 7 squads left, because a lot of people play extremely passive since they are playing for a rank. Now, that being said, and being in the last circle with 4 or 5 squads can be extremely frustrating. So having a Wattson on your team to be able to hold off buildings and hold off choke points is an extremely, extremely good tool to have. A good Wattson can pretty much deny access to an enemy team into a certain location, which can give you and your team room to heal or just to take pop shots at the enemy without risking too much damage. Now, Wattson, as an individual character, cannot do much. She does not have any movement, any defensive things that are going to help her in a pinch. But with the support of a good team and good teammates to help you out and pretty much keep fire out on enemies to make sure that you can set up your traps and your ult, Wattson can be one of the best characters in the game, especially for end game or ranked. So if your squad hasn't used Wattson in their ranked games, then maybe you should give it a try, because she's an extremely good tool and very viable in this meta. And several professionals and streamers actually say that she slowed down the game a significant amount, so people just aren't crazy ass rushing everybody like they always do. And instead they have to watch out for these traps and these fences that she can create. Now at number 2, we have a Lifeline. And Lifeline was originally my number 1 last season. She has a lot of things to her character that are really good. Like, she can revive faster, she can heal faster, she has a revive shield, she can call a Lifeline to get amazing, things from her ult or whatever. But honestly, I think that she is still second place this season, because due to number 1 and his abilities. Now, Lifeline is extremely good. She does take 5% more damage because her hitbox is small and they did nerf her, but she's still a very viable character and is pretty much needed on a good solid team. Having a Lifeline will never hurt, no matter who it is. You can give the worst player on your team Lifeline and she will still be a huge contribution to the team pretty much. So Lifeline is still a very good character. But the best character in the game at my number 1 spot, if you haven't guessed already, is of course Pathfinder. Now, Pathfinder is unmatched when it comes to mobility, and that's all what Apex Legends is about. The only character that can even hold a candle to Pathfinder's movement abilities is Octane, and even then Octane is very limited. Octane can do with his ultimate what Pathfinder can do with his tactical, and that's to get height advantage. Not only can Pathfinder gain speed and momentum moving forwards, but he can get on top of high areas, and with his ult, he can get his team on top of high areas, and that's an extremely important factor when it comes to team fights. Unlike Octane, however, you don't have to worry about left or right where Octane could go, but you have to worry about left, right, or even up and down with Pathfinder, since he can get on top of buildings extremely quickly, And if you manage to learn the mechanics of his swing, and you can see some of the best streamers do this, you can be extremely fluid and fast, and you can just move your way around the map like nobody else. And a lot of players, especially those low level players, just don't know how to deal with it. Either the Pathfinder will take damage and escape, or the Pathfinder will use his hook to get behind you or on top of you. And for most characters, unless you're Pathfinder himself or maybe Octane with an ult, there's not much you can do about it. Your only options are either to disengage or engage in the fight where you're at a massive disadvantage. And even though his passive isn't too good in casual games, in ranked games, especially with a good team comp, you can get the last circle or the last 2 circles, and you can just set up somewhere and pretty much get free wins if you know where the circle is going to be, of course. Yeah, this gives you the chance for you and your team to set up, and this could higher your chances of winning your ranked games significantly. And all in all, this has been my tier list. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a bit different from the last time because things do change. There are buffs, there are nerfs, and of course there are characters that are going to be better than other characters. Anyways, like I said before, if there is something you disagree with, make sure to leave that in the comments below and let me know why. That way I can try to understand what your guys' point of view, and you never know, maybe you'll change my mind. Anyways, guys, this has been The Cure. Thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you all keep on grinding Apex, try to get to the end of that battle pass. And I hope you all make good choices and have a great day. Until next time, guys, take care.